pain was the first thing I felt. Not the sharp, stabbing kind, but a deep ache that seemed to exist inside every bone of my body. My eyelids felt heavy as steel doors. Somewhere nearby, I could hear strange voices speaking in a language that sounded like flowing water mixed with clicking stones. For a moment, I thought I was dead. The last thing I remembered was the battlefield, explosions, smoke, the sky burning red above the plains of Karaus. Then darkness. Slowly, I forced my eyes open. A pale blue ceiling stretched above me. It wasn't made of cloth like a normal tent. The material shimmered softly, glowing with faint silver patterns that moved like living veins. I blinked. Definitely not Earth. Definitely not human. I tried to sit up, but a wave of pain crashed through my chest. Do not move. The voice was soft, gentle. I turned my head. An alien woman stood beside my bed. At least I assumed she was a woman. She was nearly 7 feet tall, with silver skin and glowing violet eyes. Long strands of white hair flowed over armor-like robes decorated with symbols I didn't recognize. What surprised me most was the expression on her face. She looked shocked, no, terrified. When our eyes met, she froze. Then she whispered something in her language. Several other aliens rushed into the tent. All of them stared at me. One dropped a medical instrument. Another took several steps backward. "What?" I croaked. The silver-skinned healer slowly approached. "You can understand us?" I blinked. Yes. The healer looked even more alarmed. One of the aliens whispered urgently. Another made a symbol across his chest. I had no idea what was happening. The healer stared at me for several seconds before speaking. The impossible happened. I frowned. What impossible thing? Silence filled the tent. Finally, she said, "You survived." I laughed weakly. People survive injuries all the time. The aliens exchanged nervous glances. The healer shook her head. No human has ever survived exposure to the Void Plague. The words sent a chill through me. The Void Plague. I had heard stories. Every soldier in the United Terran Fleet had. Entire colonies had vanished because of it. The disease wasn't biological. It wasn't viral. It wasn't even fully understood. Victims simply stopped functioning. Their cells collapsed. Their nervous systems dissolved. Death usually occurred within 12 hours. I swallowed. How long have I been unconscious? The healer looked down at a glowing device. 23 days. The room spun. 23 days? That was impossible. Nobody survived Void Plague for 23 hours. Much less 23 days. The healer sat beside me. "My name is Lyra." I slowly nodded. "Marcus." She smiled faintly. "We know." My stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" Lyra hesitated. Then she activated a floating display. Arms appeared above us, arms of me. Medical scans. Blood samples. Shell structures. Thousands of records. For 23 days, they had studied me. "We believed you were dead when our rescue team found you," Lyra explained. "But your body continued fighting." "Fighting what?" "The plague." I stared at the images. Every scan showed the same thing. Dark energy spreading through my body, then retreating, again and again, like waves crashing against a wall. What stopped it? Lyra looked directly into my eyes. "You did," I laughed. "No, that's not how diseases work." The healer's expression remained serious. "It is if your species was designed differently than we believed." My heart skipped a beat. "What are you talking about?" Lyra enlarged one of the scans. "Human DNA." The symbols meant nothing to me, but the aliens looked horrified. "Your genetic structure contains repair mechanisms beyond anything known in the galaxy." I stared. She continued. "When the Void Plague attacked your cells, your body adapted. Another image appeared. Then it evolved. Another image. And then it began destroying the infection." The entire tent remained silent. I suddenly understood why everyone looked afraid. It wasn't because I survived. It was because humans weren't supposed to. For centuries, the galaxy had viewed humanity as newcomers. Average soldiers, average technology, average civilization, nothing special. Apparently, they had been wrong, very wrong. Over the next week, my strength slowly returned. Each day, Lyra visited. Each day, we talked. I learned that her people were called the Illyrians. They were famous healers. Their medical science was considered the greatest in known space. Yet even they couldn't explain what had happened inside my body. The more they studied me, the more questions appeared. One evening, Lyra entered the tent looking troubled. Something was wrong. "What happened?" I asked. She hesitated. Then she activated another display. A transmission appeared, an emergency broadcast. The image showed a massive alien city. Buildings stretched toward the clouds. Smoke covered the skyline. My stomach dropped. "What happened there? The plague?" I stared. "The outbreak spread." Lyra nodded. "3 worlds." The room suddenly felt colder. "How many infected?" "Millions." I looked away. "Millions. Entire civilizations were facing extinction." The healer lowered her gaze. "There may be one chance." I already knew what she was about to say. "Me." She nodded. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, I sighed. "When do we leave?" The relief on her face was immediate. 3 days later, we arrived at the infected world. Nothing could have prepared me for what I saw. Hospitals overflowed. Emergency camps filled entire valleys. Families sat together waiting for death. The atmosphere felt hopeless. Broken. The galaxy's greatest doctors had failed. Every treatment had failed. Yet somehow, everyone looked at me as if I carried a miracle. I didn't feel like a miracle. I felt like a tired soldier who had gotten lucky. But hope is a powerful thing. Scientists collected samples. Researchers studied my blood. Medical AIs analyzed every detail. Days turned into weeks. Then something incredible happened. They found it, a microscopic adaptive protein unique to human biology. A protein nobody had ever noticed because it seemed ordinary on Earth. Yet against the void plague, it was devastating. For the first time in history, the disease had an enemy. A cure was developed, then mass-produced, then distributed across the stars. The death rate dropped. Entire hospitals emptied. Worlds that had expected extinction began celebrating survival. For months, the galaxy watched the impossible unfold. And through it all, one person remained beside me. Lyra, the healer who had first found me. The healer who had believed there was something worth studying inside a dying human soldier. One evening, nearly a year after I woke up, we stood together beneath an alien sky. 2 moons glowed overhead. Peace had finally returned. "You saved billions," Lyra said softly. I shook my head. "No." She looked at me. "The scientists did. The doctors did. The people who never gave up did." Lyra smiled. "That sounds very human," I laughed. "Probably." For several moments we watched the stars in silence. Then she spoke again. "You know, the history books will remember this day forever." I raised an eyebrow. "The day the cure was discovered?" She shook her head. "The day the galaxy learned what humanity truly is." I looked up at the stars. For centuries, humanity had been underestimated. We weren't the strongest species. We weren't the smartest. We didn't possess ancient technology or unimaginable power. But we had something else. Something harder to measure. The ability to endure, to adapt, to survive, no matter the odds, no matter the pain, no matter how impossible the challenge seemed. And somewhere among those distant stars, billions of lives continued because one wounded human soldier opened his eyes inside an alien healer's tent and refused to die. The impossible had happened. Humanity survived. And in doing so, it saved the galaxy.